r/ask Reddit. What should society be less accepting of? The expectation that employees be reachable constantly even outside of work hours or during paid and paid time off. It effectively creates a situation where you are on call 24/7. This was not an expectation set at hire and is not an expectation of my position in general, but they sent out an email telling everyone to put their cell into a spreadsheet. I just didn't. They sent a stern reminder email. I still didn't. They highlighted the 3 people out of 80 who didn't put their cell S in. I do not care. Pay for my cell phone bill if you expect me to use it for work. I got fed up with my employer's use of my phone number and blocked their number for a week. They've toned it down ever since. Misinformation. It sucks that when someone posts something on social media that can be debunked with a 10-second Google search, and you point this out, you're the one who everyone will think is a twat. I remember reading a Facebook post about how if you input your PIN code backwards at the ATM, the police will be alerted of the robbery. This information is not only false but incredibly dangerous. Imagine someone attempting this and then playing the situation in hopes that the police will be coming at any moment, but the police aren't coming. Every time I see one of those posts I comment on it and tell the poster that my PIN number is exactly the same forward and backwards. If the post were true, I couldn't have that PIN number. Drunk driving. It takes like 4 DUIs in my state before it's a felony. It was worse before the 90s or so. Back then it was treated like a joke, no worse than a speeding ticket. If you were middle class or well known in town, the cops would forget to give a breathalyzer and drive you home. Just stay off the main roads and go straight home. People who get on an elevator before others have had a chance to get off. There are people that do this. 2 men are my friend. Using the phone while driving. More accidents occur because of phone usage than drunk driving. I don't want to get hurt because you had to text your boyfriend. I even see cops doing it. Why are cops texting her boyfriend? Child beauty pageants. I remember in GTA IV, if you go on the internet in that game and go to a child beauty pageant, you literally get a 5-star police on site. And honestly, that's one of the best moments in video games. Rockstar Games. Everyone. The inability to accept that you are wrong. You are not the divine being that is all-knowing and is never wrong. Every single person can be wrong about something. My sister posted something on Facebook along the lines of "I need someone who can teach me some useful lessons." To which I replied that she has 6 siblings. To which she replies, "I am the oldest. You guys can teach me a thing." To which I replied, "Just because you're the oldest doesn't mean people haven't gone through different experiences than you and know less than you do." To which she replied, "They don't." Such a simple approach to life, and to be honest, after a few months it's starting to piss me off how dumb she is. You know, because ironically she's the oldest but she's the second dumbest, only beating out my 6-year-old sister. She's a sneak disser. She threatened to beat my mom's ass, and the worst of the worst, she sold weed to my 17-year-old brother without my mother knowing before knowing it was wrong. She puts weed and being overweight on a pedestal and posts bullshit like "don't hate because I am extra thick" and an assortment of posts from a bunch of random websites saying how good weed is for you. Yet she still claims to be the best of the best in the family. I don't think she's ever admitted to being wrong. I love my sister, but God, I hope someone comes around and puts her in her place. I fully subscribe to the theory that the dumbest humans are dumb because they don't know they're dumb. It makes it more tolerable to live in society to know that many people are just living their lives as best they can, and not willfully being ignorant and shunning learning. Frustrating, but tolerable. Anecdotal, but the smartest people I know are the ones who second guess things they've known or believed in for years. The need to constantly re-evaluate one's knowledge, to update it so to speak, is the purest sign of intelligence in my opinion. Bad parenting and getting children when the conditions the children have to live in would clearly be bad. It's way easier to mess up a young brain than many seem to realize. Also, pressuring people who don't want kids for whatever reason to have kids for any reason. JFC, this. I have a kid and I'm pregnant again. I love having kids. My best friend doesn't want to even be within a mile of a tiny human, but yet she's shamed for not wanting kids. It's bullshit. Another friend of mine just got married and someone asked them when they're going to start a family. Last time I checked, they were a family. Not using turn signals. Definitely, and for the love of Pete, turn them on at least 100 feet before you turn. I've almost been in and seen wrecks caused by drivers seemingly randomly hitting their brakes and starting to turn before hitting the blinkers. Pisses me right off. The love of Pete. Prescribing antibiotics like it's ducking candy. My friend has a cold. Goes to an idiot doctor. She just gives her antibiotics which she takes until she feels better. Doesn't even take the full dose. The doctor is an idiot because most colds are caused by viruses and she doesn't order any tests. And my friend is an idiot because I told her 390,209 times about antimicrobial resistance and her answer is always, "But my doctor gave me this and I felt better after a few days." Yeah, no shit, you feel better after a few days. That's because colds only last a few days and you would have felt better even if you hadn't taken the antibiotic. She does this 4 times a year and ruins her stomach in the process and doesn't realize how this can be dangerous. Stop taking antibiotics because of a cold. You have a viral infection. I agree with this, but there are some doctors who won't prescribe antibiotics when you need them. I was in the hospital a few years ago for strep that turned into tonsillitis. I'm prone to strep, so I knew the drill. Just needed some amoxicillin and I'd be on my way. This doctor I saw belittled me and told me it wasn't strep, refused to do a strep test, and told me she wasn't comfortable just throwing antibiotics at it. Went for a second opinion the next day when I couldn't talk, eat or swallow, and the second doctor asked why I hadn't come in sooner for antibiotics. Yep, it's so frustrating. My son got recurrent bronchitis, but couldn't he get antibiotics until he was miserable for a week. For me, it was bladder infections. The test would show negative, and I'd have to come back again after a few horrible days so it would be enough to show up on their test. People having phone conversations on speaker in public, or sitting your kid down with a YouTube video with the speaker on in public. I don't care that it keeps your kid under control. Every generation before this had to learn to behave in public without the help of a screen. My country's long distance trains have a certain number of silent carriages. I always book those and then these rules are never enforced. I speak up about it, but people treat you like a fascist for pointing out that the carriage is specifically marked a silent carriage with signs reminding everyone not to take phone calls. Yes, I hate that too. Keep being vigilant. Maybe even ask the train personnel to tell them. People who come up with plans then don't follow through with them without a little common courtesy. Agree with this, especially because people spend time getting ready for the plans and in some cases, preparing mentally to go through with plans or getting excited. As someone who recently got stood up for a date, I definitely feel this. It was just a Tinder date, but still. She said she'd love to go out with me, then never showed up and ghosted me. I don't go out much, so I got a haircut and everything and skipped the gym so I could be relaxed and not rushed. I'd much rather she showed up and just rejected me, cause at least then I'd be learning to get rejected. I feel like it's a skill to get rejected and have it not feel bad at all. Just a waste of time. Getting a pet only to dump it in a shelter a year later when it is no longer convenient to have a pet. I knew someone who got a puppy and took it back to the breeder after a couple weeks because it was needy and annoying. No shit, a-hole. It's a puppy. JFC. Do people not know what a puppy will be like before getting a puppy? Does it just never go through their minds that they are getting a living, breathing creature who may not be silent and still at all times? People who are late, either on purpose or without regard for others. Thank you. I am so tired of people just saying I'm chronically late like it's no big deal, or admitting to it makes it cute. Hey asshat, my time is just as valuable and you running on your own schedule instead of the one we agreed upon is inconsiderate and rude. My relief at work, every goddamn day, I can't leave until he shows up, but he is constantly late by at least 3 minutes. This might not sound like a super big deal, but I can't just bail as soon as he rolls his fat ass in. I have to give him the pass down, explain what happened that day, tell him if any trucks are in the yard, any new instructions. Basically, if my shift ends at 1500 and he shows up at 1500 on the dot, I'm not leaving until at least 1505 or more, closer to 1515. Again, this isn't a once in a while thing. This is every Christ-loving day. I get you don't want to come to work. Neither do I. But I need you to so I can go home. I also have a life outside of this bullshit. So stop being a selfish dunt. Leave your house 10 minutes earlier. Be a ducking adult about it. Pack mentalities. The lack of individualism and free thought is mind-blowing to me. Yeah dude. Me too. Me too. A-holes. When they cut the line in a queue or act in a screwed up way towards cashier at a coffee shop, grocery store, or drive like a maniac. Most people, at least in my country, let the a-holes do whatever they want. Don't accept that, especially when they are outnumbered. Tell them to behave or duck off. The stricter we are towards them, the lesser they act as if they own the place. Make your own and other lives better by standing up at times against unacceptable behavior. Confused British noises. Rich people and politicians breaking laws as they please. Like Epstein's Island list, every person in that should at least have been investigated and not swept under the rug. Planned obsolescence. This does my nut in. That and things that are made to be unfixable to the user. It's a shame what's happened with regards to your latter point, especially with cars. There was a time where you could fix pretty much any car problems with a toolbox. Now, you absolutely have to visit a mechanic for a lot of fairly basic issues because of how specialized some of the parts are, and it sucks. Men being treated like they aren't allowed to have feelings. I'm a female, but I understand that everyone has emotions, and when my dad tells my brother to man up, he comes to me to cry. It sucks because my mom does the same thing to him. When I cry, it's just OS hell be okay, it's just I'm of the M-month. It makes me mad. My boyfriend has been kinda depressed lately because he is a bit shorter than others, and anytime I hear someone call him short behind his back, I get all over them for it. People excusing shitty behavior with it's just how they are. Okay, but that doesn't mean it's not bad. I don't care if your grandpa grew up in a different type. Still can't be using racial slurs. Not washing your hands after using the bathroom. Even worse, just barely putting your hand, singular, under the tap after using the bathroom. You only do that because you're ashamed of the fact that you didn't wash and you want other people to think you did. It just makes it easier for your germs to spread. You gross mother ducker. I don't know if there's anything worse than a bathroom with shitty hand dryers and no paper towels. Like great, now I get to put my freshly cleaned, but wet warm hands on dirty bathroom taps and a doorknob. Dot. Like, what's the point? Adultery and other forms of psychological abuse. It's romanticized in movies and TV shows. Victims aren't recognized as victims. It's gross. Edit. I didn't realize this would get such a response. Thanks for the awards by the way, but since it seems so many of you care, here's something heavily related that's worth a read. https://www.chumplady.com/2017/11/the silent chumps. Super bright headlights. I had a massive truck behind my car last night who had those LED lights, and they were lighting up the road in front of my car so much that there was no difference between having my lights on or off. Pisses me off when I'm driving down a dark road and suddenly the sun comes around the corner and blinds me. Driving without glasses, if you need them. Where I'm from, the enforcement is thankfully strict, but I've heard, mostly American, people say stuff like, yeah, when I got glasses I was like, wow, I can see a lot better. Especially when driving I could see signs, like, 5 times as far away as normally, but like, who wants to wear glasses all the time, lol. I even lost my pair, because I didn't use them. I'm sorry, no, you absolutely do need glasses. That's almost as bad as drunk driving, and it absolutely floors me how casually people seem to take the topic. I've never heard this before. I wasn't even allowed to take the written part of the driver's test without wearing my glasses. The only people I can think of that would feel this way are some older people. It's an old belief that glasses are unattractive, so many don't wear them unless they absolutely have to, especially if their eyesight only started to decline as they get older. People don't like to be reminded that they aren't as young as they used to be. Ducking weirdo kiddie beauty pageants. Treating retail service workers like garbage. These people have zero control over their company's policies. But some customers think it's okay to take their frustration out on service workers in the nastiest of ways. The customer is not always right, and there needs to be less enabling and more shaming in response to Karen behavior. Blindly following the popular opinion. People don't think for themselves nearly as much as they should. There is no harm in taking a minute to research the accuracy of something before stating your opinion on it. The idea that the very day a girl turns 18, it's totally acceptable for gross-ass dudes to start sexually objectifying, harassing her. She was legally a child yesterday, you don't. Some people don't even wait. Which is also gross. Like those absolutely disgusting timers that were kept on famous children. Emma Watson, Natalie Portman, the Olsen twins, etc. That counted down the days until they were legally duckable. It didn't stop these pigs from spouting gross shit about them. Prison rape. Absolutely, rape, sexual abuse, and sexual assault in any situation should never be normalized or accepted. In most, if not all cases, it's far worse than anything the victims did to land themselves in prison jail. People also tend to forget that many incarcerated individuals were already victims of sexual abuse before coming to jail prison as well. It's disgusting that so many people accept it and treat it as a joke. I'm glad someone agrees. Most people just treat it like it's the joke of the day. Don't drop the soap, but what they're really saying is, I think it's funny for an individual placed in the care of the state to be forced into violent anal rape as a means of survival. It makes me mad sad sometimes that I have to live in a world where this is just a norm. Built-in obsolescence. Products absolutely ducking suck nowadays. Nothing lasts more than a few years, and that's entirely by design. All products should either be guaranteed through a significant period of time, or come with a sticker detailing its expected lifespan. Apple got fined for this just recently, but it's basically pennies compared to what they make. One of the earliest examples of planned obsolescence is the light bulb. There is a light bulb that has stayed illuminated for decades. People engineered light bulbs to make them burn out faster because they weren't making enough money on the original design. This kind of thing has been going on for a long time. Wild. Elder abuse and neglect. Political parties. Especially the sports team us versus their mentality we have now. Driving high. Crazy how many people think it's fin to drive stoned. I know it's not as dangerous as driving drunk. There are studies on this, but it's still an idiotic, irresponsible and selfish thing to do. Canceling people. Cancel culture has a place, such as with dangerous people who otherwise think themselves untouchable. But come on, people need to not be dragged through the mud for something that's been blown out of proportion. Making a lot of kids you can't afford and making their lives miserable. The attitude "my feelings are your problem," especially when combined with "I don't have to consider your feelings at all because you're one of them." Toxic mind games in relationships and dating. Smoking. I would support a smoking ban in all public places and around minors, pot included. Go ahead and consume pot and tobacco, but don't force the people around you to participate. There are alternatives to smoking both of these things, though of course chewing tobacco just moves the cancer risk to the mouth. Domestic abuse towards men. Jumping to conclusions. It's a jump to conclusions, Matt. Making it okay for people to die BC a company can't find a way to make it profitable. Jeffrey Epstein's death. It's sad that it's just become a giant joke now. All the lives of young girls he ruined and all the wealthy men his death exonerated. Stupid people being allowed to run their mouths about essential oils, anti-vaxxer beliefs, shouting down your critics by calling them a racist or gender biased. Sexual abusers. I dated my ex for 6 years before he casually told me his uncle molested his cousins when they were younger. Like, you let me be chill with this man for 6 years before telling me this, and everyone just sort of accepts it? It didn't help that everyone also thought my ex's dad was creepy as duck with his comments about women, but my ex never did anything about it. Nope, the duck away from that family. Disregard for facts and thorough thought process. Women objectifying, creeping on men or threatening violence against them like it's a joke. It's not funny. It's not quirky. It's just hypocritical and creepy. I had a former friend who used to tell her boyfriend if he ever left her she'd burn his house down, and it always got laughed off by others. But Lord knows if a man said that to his girlfriend, people wouldn't be laughing as much. Abuse is abuse, no matter who it's committed against. Improper use of capital letters in sentences. Watching loud videos in public and disturbing everyone. Just use earphones or turn the volume down. It may just be my own preferences showing, but I'd like us all to be more against reality TV. Shows like Love Island, Paradise Hotel and That Jersey Show. They feed the consumer drama. I see no intellectual content whatsoever. I'm not saying every TV program has to be a documentary about the Neolithic or the behavior of apes narrated by David Attenborough, but I would like programs of that nature to be ranked above the empty-minded reality shows. I don't know if there's some nuance I'm not seeing with these shows. It just seems like sexy dumb people getting drunk, sunbathing, yelling and ducking. Women raping men. Or rape in general. People still don't take women seriously when they said they've been raped. Cults, like child bride, cutting off the ends of baby dongs. Politicians that have so much power, they can literally get away with treason and subverting the Constitution. Men abandoning their children and continuing to live their lives as if nothing happened. Yet it's the single mothers that get all the judgment, when they're the ones doing all the hard work. Taking children to the gay pride parade. Why would you expose kids to a public event filled to the brim with child inappropriate behavior and clothing? Porn. False rape accusations. People using their religion as an excuse for their intolerant and shitty behavior. Not vaccinating their kids or getting them medical treatment. Or abusing them. No Jim Bob I don't give a duck how much you pray and believe that you're going to be raptured. You still can't fire Sally because she likes girls. Yes, beating your kids with a paddle is abuse even if it's in the Bible. If little Timmy needs a blood transfusion to live, he's ducking getting at beach. Nazis. Defending Nazis and whataboutisms when someone talks about modern day Nazis. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.